Diary, and today I have a rather large TBR. This is not particular to any month, just some books I want to read in fall because they really scream fall books to me. I have a lot more fall books, but this is a selection. If I will get to any of them, that's the question. But nonetheless, I thought I will tell you about them. So I have some different genres. I have some historical fiction, some fantasy, and some thrillers, mostly because that's what I feel are the most fall autumn books to me. So yeah, let's just get to it. I think we start with historical fiction because that's the smallest pile. And to kick it off, I have two books by Jill Paul. They're kind of a series, or at least a sequel to, but they can be read on their own, I believe. I haven't read them yet, but I feel like that. So the first is The Lost Wife by Jill Paul. This is a story set in Russia in 1914, so just before World War One. It's a retelling of Tatiana Romanov, who in this story falls in love with a soldier, an officer called Dmitri. But of course, it's the bridge of war, and we all know what happened to the Romanovs. So the situation in the country gets worse, and her life is in great danger. So that's one timeline. The next timeline is in 2016, where we meet Kitty Fisher, who goes to her grandfather's cabin in America and finds an amulet, really gorgeous jeweled amulet, and this kind of leads her to some really big family secrets. Oh my god. And I assume she tries to solve this mystery, as well as we follow the love story of Tatiana and Dmitri in Russia. So I really want to read it. I am a really big history nerd, which you probably didn't know, but I am really interested in old royal history, especially the Romanovs and the Tudors, and I think that's really interesting. A lot more interesting than the monarchs now, but that's probably because we don't have a lot of monarchs now. But all the drama and the family ties and everything, I think it's really interesting. I really love to read about it, to listen about it. I am subscribed to History Tea Time with Lindsay or something, I believe, and she makes a lot of history videos, which I enjoy. I can link her channel in the descriptions below. And I also like this channel Reading the Past with Dr. Cat, who also makes a lot of videos about the Tudor time. Lindsay does a lot more varied, so especially for example, the history of corsets, the history of breastfeeding, but also particular videos about, for example, Marie Antoinette. So, but I can link both of their channels in the description below if you're interested. That's one. And the next is The Lost Daughter by Jill Paul. And in this we follow Maria Romanov in 1918. And she is bored. She's locked up. This is after World War One, so everyone, I presume, yeah, it's before the fall. But then we also meet Val Doyles in 1973, and she visits her father who is dying, and the only thing he managed to say is, I didn't want to kill her. I didn't want to kill her. And this kind of gets her spiraling. Why? Who didn't he want to kill? What is he talking about? So she finds again a jewel list item, a box this time. It can't be open, but she eventually gets to open it, and inside she finds an old camera with a film roll in it. So this sets her on one of the world's largest mysteries. What really happened to Maria Romanov? So I think both of them sound really interesting. So I'm excited to read them. And the next two books is by Stacey Halls, and it's the Fount Family. This also sounds kind of like a mystery. I think you sense the theme here. I like mysteries, even in my historical fiction. This is set in London in 1754, and we follow a mother who had to give her child up for adoption. But when she finally returns 60 years later to retrieve her child, she finds out that the child has already been abducted. So she tries to find out why and who took her, and just everything around that. But then we also meet in the outskirts of London a widow an old widow who haven't left her house in decades, but she has a friend who is a young doctor who convinces her to take in a child, or a stranger, she convinces her to hire a nanny and have a stranger in her house, which is really not so happy about. But I want to see the correlation between the child missing and the hired nanny is the child with the widow, and yeah, I think it sounds interesting. And then I have The Familiars by Stacey Halls, and I think this is really an awesome book because we follow the witch trials, or sort of. It's set in 1612 when a young girl, she's forced to give a child. Yeah. But she can't really go through another pregnancy. She won't survive it. So then she meets a woman called Alice, a birth mother. Is that what you call it in English? Someone who helps you when you give birth. And this Alice then gets accused of witchcraft and being a witch, and this might also set the life of Fleetwood, the young girl, in danger. So we follow this, and is Alice a witch, or is it just the witch hunt? I think it sounds really interesting, and I don't explain it well. I know that, but the witch trials is also really interesting. I believe it was so many lives that were wrongfully taken, and it's a really tragic story. So to kind of get to read that, I am really excited about it. The next section. Why not fantasy? And the first book I want to read is Craved and Crush by Tracy Wolff. Yay. I heard about these books from a girl who likes to read. I really love her channel. She is a fellow Scandinavian. She has taken a long break, but she's finally back. Yay! But yeah, I learned about these books from her channel, and I also heard about them from Grace from G's Whistle, and they were really hyping them up, so I kind of got excited. It also looks like Twilight, or at least the first book does, but I've heard that it was a lot more complex world than Twilight. But we follow Grace actually. We follow Grace, who is about to attend Catmere Academy, where she meets werewolves and vampires and shapeshifters and everything. But she herself is a human, the only human. And within the first few days, someone tries to murder her. So this kind of sets it off. Who tried to murder her? Why is she getting targeted and trying to... Yeah. And I'm excited. I really am. I get that Twilight feeling, and that was one of the first books that really made me enjoy reading. So yeah, I can't wait to get the Crushes, the sequel. So I don't really know anything about it. Don't want to know anything about it, because before I read Crush, before I read Crave, I mean. Can you tell I haven't slept in days? I feel you can tell. Yeah. The next book is Nora Latin by Sara Bergmark Elfgren. She's a Swedish author, and she wrote the Circle trilogy, which I read last summer, I believe. And that is one of my favorite trilogies about witches. It's really, really good. Yeah, so I'm excited to get to this. And in this, we followed again a school called Nora Latin in Stockholm. It's a lead school, I believe, a drama school. And we follow Tamar, who's always dreamed of being an actress. And we follow Clea, who is grown up on the stage. And they are both attending Nora this autumn. But it's a really old school, and it houses a lot of secrets. And there's a tragedy which occurred when it was an all-boys school many years ago. So now it's kind of the mystery. Is it really a legend, or is it real? And what secrets is hiding in the shadows of Nora Latin Academy? It sounds interesting, it sounds good, it sounds full, it sounds kind of dark academia. So can't wait to get to it. And then I have the entire Raven cycle. I honestly don't know a lot about the books. Yeah, they're by Maggie Stewart, by the way. But this is the first book. I've heard so much about it from everyone, I feel, especially from Books and Lala. I think that this is one of her favorite young adult series, especially in fantasy. But we follow Blue, who can see dead people, and one day in churchyard, she meets, or she sees this boy, and then she knows he is going to die, but he is also going to be the one she falls in love with and gives her first kiss to. But the first kiss is what's going to kill him. So should she warn him? Should she not? She meets him at school, him and his friends, and they're kind of hunting this Raven King, which is an old tale, I believe. Yeah, but I've heard amazing things about it, and that's why I want to read it. And it really feels like fall books, mostly because of the Raven, but that's me. And the last fantasy book I have is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I feel like this is the quintessential fall book, especially October. I feel like this is really an October read for me, maybe even Halloween. But we follow a circus in the late 1800s where there's two competing circuses, and we meet two artists who they're in love but they're competing, but what they don't know is that they has to fight to the death. It sounds amazing, it sounds really intriguing, and the circus setting, I read Caraval 2 years ago, I think, and I love that series, and that's a Carnival Circus, so I'm really looking forward to it, and it's gotten so much hype. Everyone loves it, I feel like, especially Hannah from A Clockwork Reader. She is really fond of it, so yeah. And the next and last section is thrillers. This is one of my favorite genres as well. To kick it off, we have the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. Wow. Oh. Perhaps this way? Yeah. And in this we follow Stevie Bell, who is about to attend Ellingham Academy. And Ellingham Academy is a school for kind of gifted people with a special talent. And Stevie is really interested in true crime, and she can solve every mystery she gets over. And she really wants to attend Ellingham because the daughter and wife of the founder of Ellingham Academy actually got kidnapped, and no one knows what happened. So she wants to attend Ellingham to solve the missing, to find out what happened, even though this was several years ago. This is yet another series that's gotten really hyped on BookTube, and everyone adores it. So it sounds up my alley, and it sounds really interesting. I've already pre-ordered. No, I haven't. It has actually gotten out. I'm waiting for it. The fourth book, which is kind of a spin-off series, I believe, from this trilogy, but I'm not quite sure. But I really want to read it. It sounds really fallish, dark academia and all that stuff. And then I have one of my favorite thriller authors, Lisa Jewell, and The Night She Disappeared. And I kind of like to go into thrillers without knowing too much, but I know that Lisa Jewell is really hyped on BookTube, or in the thriller community. But we have two separate timelines. We have in 2017, when 19 years old Tallulah goes missing. And then in 2019 we have Sophie, who is going on a walk in the forest and finds a note on a tree where it says "dig here." So I assume that she will find Tallulah's body and we will get to see what happened to Tallulah, who kidnapped her, what's morbid things that happened there, and we will follow Sophie as she tries to solve this murder or something. But it says a cold case, an abandoned mansionette, family trauma, and dark secrets. So that sounds good to me. I don't need anything else. I enjoyed most of Lisa Jewell's books, so I am excited to get to it, which I said a really many times now. And the next books are Scandinavian. I don't know if they've been translated, but this is 1793 and 1794 by Niklas Natt och Dag. I said it in Norwegian. I don't know if that's how he pronounces it in Swedish. But yeah, these two books are set in, you may guess it, 1793 and 1794 in Stockholm. And that's really what got to me, because there's not a lot of books, crime books, that I read that's set in that time period, and especially in Stockholm or Norway or neighboring countries to mine. It's about a body that's found in Fatburen in Södermalm, and the body has neither arms nor legs, and it's in really bad shape. It's not a murder of a new date. It seems like it's been there for a long time. So I just assume we try to solve this murder without any recent technology, which will be exciting to see, and just how kind of the dirty streets of Stockholm is described, and just the era. I'm really excited to read about that. So, and 1794 is the sequel, so I assume a new murder. Yeah. The next is Geiger by Gustav Skördeman. Sorry. And in this book we meet a grandmother who just had visit from her grandchildren. She raised them up, and then she gets a phone call, and it's only one word: Geiger. After that, she pulls out the gun and fires the gun at her husband. Doesn't that sound intriguing? Like, why? Why? What is Geiger code word for? Why did she do that? Is she going to kill herself? What happened? And then the murder gets followed up by Sarah Novak, but Sarah knows the murdered, so she can't really be involved in the case. But nonetheless, she of course gets involved in the case, and she discovers this really dark past who is threatening to catch up with her. It sounds really interesting. It sounds like a spy book, and I'm really excited to get to it. I think it's going to be really amazing. And I don't think I've ever read something from, or I probably have, but that's really taking on the spies of the Cold War. And this is the last book, and it's Galgedans av T.H. Håvardsen. This is a Norwegian book, and when I first heard of it from from my public bookstore, I want to read it now. I haven't read it yet, but I still want to read it. And it sounds really fallish, so I kind of savor it for fall. And it says that the quiet Tyrnes lives in a loveless marriage with his wife Margaret until they get their little child Jenny, who gets all Theodore's love. But Jenny is not like other childs. She's very much alone and doesn't fit in anywhere. And then a creature starts to whisper in her ear in her bedroom, and inside of her the cold and darkness grows. And one summer day, when she turns 12 years old, the events takes a rather drastic turn, a really macabre turn. And the Paris that is released this summer day changes the life to the little family and everyone who lives in Victoriahan forever. It kind of sounds like it might be some horror elements in it, and that's exciting. I don't read a lot of horror, but the premise and the eeriness you get from it sounds really cool. It sounds really amazing. And the third book in the trilogy is getting released this September, I believe. So I should really get to it soon. But that was all the books I had for this time. There's a lot of them. I don't think I will get to half of them. But ambitions is important. And I'm really sorry about how messy this video was. I have a lot of editing to do, I feel like. But yeah, I'm still kind of new to the game. And I will try my best. So I hope you still will stick around. If you would be so kind to leave a like if you like this video. And tell me if you read any of these books. If you want to read any of these books. If they sound interesting to you, and which one do you think I should prioritize? But that's all for now. I hope to see you next time. Bye.